Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to do something really exciting. We are decoding the secrets of the most respected, literally the most psychologically untouchable people on Earth. Have you ever looked at certain individuals and just wondered, how do they move through life like they're playing a completely different game? Well, it's actually because they are. And today, we're going to break down exactly how they do the whole shebang.
So most of us are completely conditioned to believe in this idea of amateur power. You know the exact type. They're loud, they're constantly seeking attention, always needing to have the biggest title or just the absolute loudest voice in the room. But let's go ahead and shatter that illusion right now. Real power, it's entirely different. It operates totally unseen, right in the shadows of psychology. And to be clear, it's not manipulation and it's definitely not deception. It is this pure, refined psychological mastery that makes you utterly untouchable.
Here's a quick roadmap of what we're covering in this explainer. We'll start with Welcome to the Shadows, then move into Mastering Your Immediate Presence, look at the art of detachment, explore strategic and ethical connection, focus on outcome over ego, and then wrap it all up with the 7-day challenge. It's a cohesive arc of psychological transformation.
All right, Section 1. Welcome to the Shadows, where we are shattering the illusion of loud power. These are the rules to a completely different game.
Moving right along to Section 2, Mastering Your Immediate Presence, which is all about controlling how you present yourself to the world.
Okay, let's dive right into this. The traits we're about to cover, you're definitely not going to find them taught in school or in your typical self-help books. This first phase is all about mastering your external presentation, which brings us to shadow trait number 1, strategic silence. Most people just overshare and over-explain because, honestly, silence makes them incredibly uncomfortable. But here's the thing you got to remember. Every single word you speak is information someone else can use. Think about a game of chess. There's this brilliant concept called quiet moves. These are moves that don't aggressively attack or capture a piece, but they invisibly shift the entire board in your favor. Strategic silence is basically the ultimate quiet move. So the next time someone challenges your decision, just let the silence breathe. Respond slowly. Speak to actually deliver value, not just to fill up the empty space. You'll be amazed at how quickly your silence becomes your absolute power.
And that naturally flows into shadow trait number 2, fluid identity. Having a weak identity means performing one single, rigid personality for absolutely everyone you meet. But a fluid identity, that is about wearing many faces. Think of it like a really indispensable multi-tool. A pocket knife is cool, but a multi-tool is essential, right? If you think about it, a truly great leader doesn't inspire a CEO using the exact same tone they'd use to inspire a brand new 22-year-old intern. That'd be ridiculous. Adapting your language, your energy, and your tone to make different people feel genuinely seen, that is just highly intelligent. But here's the crucial warning, the absolute boundary you cannot cross. You adapt your delivery, sure, but you never adapt your core values. Which brings us to Section 3, the art of detachment, managing your own emotional needs.
Now, what's really interesting about this transition is how we're moving from the external to some deeply misunderstood internal traits, and that brings us to shadow trait number 3, elegant detachment. Basically, this means becoming genuinely okay with any outcome. Why? So that absolutely no one can weaponize your care or your neediness against you. And let's be super clear here. Detachment does not mean you just don't care. It simply means nothing can use your care against you. When you desperately need a deal to close, or you're just constantly craving someone's approval, people can feel it. It's like a radar, and they will weaponize it. Neediness repels people, but freedom draws them right in. You become so incredibly magnetic when you stop making one single outcome the absolute condition for your happiness.
So let's see how that builds into shadow trait number 4, which is invisible pressure. True authority doesn't need a megaphone. It walks into the room completely silently. It creates this unfelt influence without ever having to announce itself. It breaks down into 3 things. First, presence, just remaining completely calm when everyone else is panicking, so authority naturally walks in right alongside you. Second, patience. While everyone else is just reacting instantly, you wait. You watch things play out before making your move at the exact right second. And third, positioning. You're not out there fighting for a seat at the table. You're making yourself the kind of person that other people instinctively pull a chair up for. I mean, the most powerful person in a room is almost never the one doing all the talking. They're the one everyone keeps glancing at to see their reaction.
Okay, on to Section 4, strategic and ethical connection. This is all about handling interpersonal dynamics.
This phase is absolutely fascinating because it's about how psychologically powerful people interact using incredibly high-level emotional intelligence. Shadow trait number 5 is the mirror effect. Look, amateur listening is basically just waiting for your turn to speak, right? You're forming your brilliant response in your head while the other person is still talking. But the mirror effect,
That is listening to genuinely absorb and then actually reflecting the emotion behind the words. Here's a huge psychological truth. People don't really fall in love with you. They fall in love with the deeply understood version of themselves that they see reflected in you. When you can catch the underlying fear beneath someone's bravado and reflect it back to them with real empathy, you become totally unforgettable. People who feel truly understood, they will literally walk through walls for you.
And that kind of deep empathy leads directly to shadow trait number 6, pragmatic ethics. This is choosing the uncomfortable truth and useful outcomes over just looking nice, keeping superficial peace, or, just being polite. We are constantly sold this really dangerous idea that we always have to keep the peace. But peace that's kept at the cost of the truth, that's just a slow rot. Telling a friend their plan is going to fail when everyone else is just blindly nodding along, or setting really hard boundaries when people expect you to just roll over and forgive again, that is not cruelty. Not at all. That is a profound act of courage and self-respect. Pragmatic ethics means separating what is actually useful from what just makes you look good.
All right, Section 5. Outcome over ego. Securing your ultimate goals.
We are now entering the real endgame of psychological mastery. This is where we focus on how powerful people cut through all the noise to secure their absolute objectives. Shadow trait number 7 is selective revelation. Remember this, information released cannot be retrieved. In our modern social media age, we're basically trained to overshare every single milestone, every minor struggle. But the person who reveals things selectively, they become completely fascinating, holding back your full story, letting your actions speak way before your words do. It creates this rare magnetic sense of mystery. Whether it's in negotiations, your relationships, or your career, what is slowly revealed is always more treasured than what is just freely given away. Seriously, protect your story. It's the most valuable thing you own.
So, that brings us to the crucial point. Shadow trait number 8, results worship. Everything else we've talked about so far is the how, but this is the why that drives the whole engine. And it boils down to one incredibly stark question. Is this working? Psychologically powerful people are not attached to looking smart, they don't care about being right, and they definitely don't defend a failing method just because they worked really hard on it. If it is not moving them toward their outcome, they drop it. Simple as that. No ego, no mourning period. They pivot immediately based solely on the answer to that one driving question.
Which totally leads us to a connected and honestly brilliant concept. Strategic laziness is real. Do less. Achieve more. When you start measuring outcomes over your raw effort, you realize you can spend absolutely zero energy on arguments or little battles that just don't serve your ultimate mission. You really don't need to win every single debate. If it doesn't serve the final result, you just don't engage.
Finally, Section 6, the 7-day challenge. Taking the shadow traits into the real world.
We have covered some really profound ground today, and now it's time for a practical call to action. It's time to take these concepts and put them into your actual life. So here is your challenge. Step 1, pick just one shadow trait from today's explainer, just one. Step 2, practice it deliberately in your daily interactions for the next 7 days. And step 3, just sit back and watch how the way people treat you naturally begins to shift. You see, the game of psychological mastery was always being played all around you. The only difference is, now you actually know the rules.
So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. Which trait will you build first? Is it going to be strategic silence? Maybe elegant detachment? Or how about the mirror effect? Whatever it is, commit to making your first move right now. I really hope you're leaving this explainer with a razor-sharp new perspective, and you're just eager to master even more of these strategies. Until next time, stay focused and keep learning.